Hi, welcome back to the 8-Bit Retro Refix. And on this week's episode, we're going to see if the Amiga 2000 boots finally. But we did have a bit of a problem. Yeah, take a look. So here it is, and I'll just let you know what's happened. So since last week, since we were having a look at this, and I asked you in the comments to leave me a comment to tell me what to do with this, a lot of you just said to me, just fire it up. You know, you've cleaned it down, you've checked continuity on them lines, everything's hunky-dory, fire it up. Somebody came along on Facebook shortly after I'd had a look, and said do not power it on. The power supply have reefer caps inside them, which is in that one here. So what I did with that is I plugged in a couple of hard drives into that power supply, and we've tested the voltages on the connector and they all seemed really good. So I did fire it up, and that's the picture that we got with it booting into 1.2 or 1.3, can't quite remember now, but we'll have a look on that picture. And yeah, it booted. We're like, yes, great, it's working. And then this. So that wasn't very good at all, was it? It is what it is. The power supply has gone up in smoke. I did check inside it to make sure that there were no reefer caps. There wasn't any reefer caps inside it that I could see of. So I think one of the voltage regulators gone on there. So with it being an old power supply, I didn't want to use that one anymore and risk this board any further than it's already had its risk with the power supply, the battery should I say. So what I've decided to do is I've got a ATX power supply, which is just over here out of sight. Don't want to move it around too much. And I picked up this adapter cable from Amiga Kit off eBay. And now we can plug in an ATX power supply straight into the system. And we can have a look and see whether it actually runs or not. So what I did is I pulled out the Kickstart ROM and I thought, well, let's put a diagnostic ROM in it. I pulled out the keyboard that is supplied with it, the Amiga A2000 keyboard. I've deoxided this socket up here. It is a bit rough. I don't really like putting things in there, but I needed to test that keyboard to make sure it was working. So I am going to change that socket for the keyboard. And I think I'm going to change the two joystick port sockets as well down there, because they have had a bit of corrosion to them. So we're going to give it a bit of lease of life around here, if you like. I still have to clean up the board properly. It has been neutralised with vinegar, etc. So the difference between using this adapter cable is there's one pin that's missing, which is the white one up here, which is a -5, I believe. The -5 doesn't really matter unless you're going to be putting in a sound card. I think it's a Sound Blaster card, and there is another card that needs a -5, but that's not an issue at all. The tick signal, which is a 40 MHz signal, which is sent down the brown pin here, it doesn't have, because the tick is generated inside the power supply. So what we do to get around that, there's a jumper up here, which is J300. We just move that jumper across and it takes the tick from the motherboard rather than the power supply. So that's, with that done, we can now hit the switch and actually fire this thing up and see whether it works again. It did work before, but not after that smoking. So let's finally fire this up. If it does work, I have also got this card that was in there, which we will put back in and see if it boots with it in. We also have the hard disk card, which we'll put back in and see if that boots up as well. The hard disk, what I did with that is I took this off here and I took that out of there and I powered it off the ATX power supply, and just powered it on and off a few times, just to make sure that it was spinning up and it wasn't going to do any damage or anything to the other board before we plugged it in and give it a try. But that quantum drive is spinning up. It does sound like it's trying to read something, so we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So let me drop your camera down a little bit so you can take a look, and then we can hit that switch and let's see if she boots. Whoa, we're looking good. Now I have still got it coming out of composite. I have got the RGB connected. This television for some reason doesn't like the RGB side of it with diagnostic ROMs for some reason. So I've left it like this so you can actually have a look. So we're up and we're running. What I want to do is test the keyboard. So I don't know whether you guys will be able to see it. I will cut it down so you can be able to see if possible. So what I wanted to do is test keyboard tests. So what you can see up in this top left corner, right up there, where you can see character C4, that's going to change every time I press a button. Okay, so if I press escape, it's going to take us out of the program. So we'll test that last. So F1 key, you can see how it's changed up there. I don't know whether you can see that, but it's come up with character 1, DO. That comes up with D1. F3 comes up with character 3, D2. So as you can see, as I'm going along the character buttons, they're changing, which is telling us this keyboard is actually working. So I'm just going to go down quickly now. That's delete and help keys. I'm just going to move across to the direction arrows. And go back to the numpad. So all they're working. I can come across with the tab key and then Q, QWERTY. CTRL doesn't seem to do anything, but it does move on the buffer. You can't see that, it's just slightly off the screen. See if I can change, see if I can move you. So CTRL is changing on the buffer, look. Caps lock. A, S, D, F, G, J, K, L, dots. Come on, return again. Spacebar, B, B, N, M, our direction keys, alternate, that's changing on the buffer again, Amiga key changing on the buffer again, the other alternate on the buffer, and the Amiga key on the buffer. So we've got a fully working keyboard. Woo! So now we know that keyboard's fully working, let's escape out of that program. Have we got any audio? Now we're only going to have left audio because I've only got left audio plugged in, but let's test audio. Simple waveforms, switch 1 on, can you hear that? 2, 3, 4. Now we can't hear 1 and 2 because they're on the right channel and we haven't got it plugged in, but we have got audio, so that's a good do. Let's go to audio menu. Let's play a test module. So we seem to have audio coming through, so that's great. Again, we can only test it on one channel. I can move it on the audio, take that out and push it in the other side. So we can hear the other side of the channel. So we know that both audio channels are working, so that's a good do. What else can we check? IRQ and CIA tests. Let's see what the IRQ does. That one's going to fail if we don't have the harness on to press the IRQ7 button, which it has done, which is okay. CIA tests. Let's go. There we go. That's all passed. Nice. So we know the CIAs are okay. The experimental is not operational as yet and needs updating on the Diag ROM. I think that's about as other. What's other tests? Auto config, show memory content. That's if it's terrible fire. And Diags. So we've done in here. So at least we know we're up and running. Yippee. If you want to know what Diag ROM this is, let's take it down to about. And this was created by John Chucky. And it's available at www.diagrum.com. You can just pop along there and grab yourself a ROM, and you can either do it by soft if you want to do it that way, or you can burn an EEPROM chip like I've done today. So that's that. So what I'm going to do now is, we know that's working. I'm going to swap out. We know that the 1.2 chip worked because we saw it on the picture. So I'm going to put a number 2 in there. So it's going to have the Kickstart ROM 2. It is an original. We're going to boot that. And we'll see what happens. So we've taken the diagnostic ROM out and we have put 2.0 Kickstart in there. And let's see if she fires up now. No signal. Oh, we've got black and white. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to unplug the composite in the audio, and I'm going to plug in the RGB SCART connector so we can get some colour out of it to test for colour as well. Right, so I've just switched over that cable. I'm going to fire it up with the 2.0 ROM Kickstart in there now, and we've swapped over to the RGB cable, so we should have colour. Fingers crossed. Go. See, it just don't like it, does it? Well, we've got lock on. I don't know what that's about. Maybe it's just a dodgy TV that's not connecting the sync. I mean, these are only 15 kilohertz out anyway, so maybe it's struggling to sync and connect to it. But we have managed to get colour RGB out, and that looks stupendous. Absolutely cracking, even though you're looking at it recorded from an LCD screen. That looks pretty good. So, what shall we do next? I've got to plug these cards in. I've got to see what happens when we plug the cards in. We know she's up and running. We know the keyboard's working. We don't know whether the mouse does or not yet, but we'll come to that. Or did we move it? Yeah, we did move mouse in the Diag ROM, and it shows that mouse is actually working. So that's a good do. So yeah. So let me pull that power supply out of the way, reset the camera. I'll plug these cards in, and then we'll do a reboot, and we'll take a look and see if the hard drive fires up too, because that will be absolutely amazing if that hard drive fires up and it's still got all his original files on there from 30 years ago. Right, so you can see we've put this card in. He tells me that this card is an 086, so it's basically DOS. That's what the 5.5-inch floppy drive is for as well in the system. And this one's just your hard drive carry, and it also carries some extra RAM on here as well. So let's see if it'll fire up with these. It might be a little bit noisy, we don't know, but let's have a look and see if it does. So I'm just going to pan your camera up, back up to the television, we'll fire it up and see what happens. Let's flick that switch and see if it all runs. Let's go. You can hear that hard drive. Woo! So we've got a hard disk over here, we've got RAM disk. So let's take a look, see what's on hard disk. Wait. So projects, let's have a look in projects. Finals. What's in finals? Bear in mind this is all somebody's, or the owners, should I say, original files and folders from 30 years ago that nobody's ever looked at. We've got a big chunk of memory up there and all that look of things. Great stuff. Is it doing anything? You can see this keep moving. It's getting bigger and bigger, it's bad, but... Oh, there you go. This is an essay intended to examine the relationship between changes of the economy. Cool. No date, no name on it. Oh, no date. Close that down. Close that down. So what else have we got in here? No point is to keep looking at these documents. That gets annoying. I think there's a way of stopping that. Let's have a... Can we exit somehow? Wow. I've never used that program, so I ain't got a clue, to be fair. So let's get our projects. What have we got in here? We've Grand Prix X, we've Battle Chess, we've got Golf. Don't know whether these are going to... Let's have a look at Golf, see if it shows us. No? No, didn't like that, did it? What about Grand Prix X? No, didn't like that neither. How bizarre. Battle Chess. Not enough memory. Wonder why that is. We've got loads of memory. I wonder if it's out to do with 1.3 and 2. Let's go back to 1.3 and have a look. Let's say it needs Kickstart 2 or greater now. 1.3 is set up. Do any of these work now? Let's have a look at Grand Prix X. Oh wow, it does. Well, that looked very promising, didn't it? So we've got graphics, we've got games running, But why didn't it run on 1.2? Why does this game only run on 1.3? Maybe we need to install a switcher, which I think would be a good idea. Ooh, I hope it's cracked. So let's put some keys in. And don't think it's a cracked version. Help. Help me. No. No. We can't play that game, so let's do a reboot. So Grand Prix X we needed a thing for. Battle chess, and we've got golf there. Let's have a look at golf. Will golf start now? Because it didn't, did it, on the version 2? That's all we got last time. Ah! Good old Rob Hubbard for the sound effects and music. Awesome. Huh. I'll just pick one. So, looks like that game runs. I don't know how though. Save setup. Can we escape? Yeah, back to the dash. That's a good do. So we know golf works. Battle chess. Isn't it amazing that the hard drive's still running? Okay. I don't know how to play chess, guys. Yeah, I don't know how to play chess. So we'll do another reboot. I think he said something about Vienna. There's been something about an X, maybe? Don't know what these are. He told me I could have a poke around, so don't worry, guys. I'm not nosying. I'm not showing people's incorrect format. Open it. Yeah. No. Didn't want to play. We'll leave that for him to have a look at. PC. Obviously this card, this has got a card in here, don't forget. It's got a PC. I don't know what these are. Something's happening. Ooh. That must be your DOS display then, is it? Projects, system, preferences, utilities. I think there's much else on here really to be nosy at. Prepping drives. Clock, which we don't have anymore because we took the battery off, but you'd have to manually set that every time you started it up now. Expansion. Just files, I think, for the expansion. Did they put it in the trash can 30 years ago? No. Right. So we know it's working, which is absolutely brilliant. So thank God for that. It didn't blow up. It's still alive. And this had this working as well, which we saw on there. A bit strange with the Kickstart 2 though. When you put Kickstart 2 in, the games don't load. There must be particular games that will have to have the 1.3. Some of them were fussy, some of them wasn't. If I'm wrong, hit in the comments, let me know why. But yeah, it's running, and the owner's absolutely well chuffed that it's actually up and running, and he can see his files and folders on the system from 30 years ago. all that time in storage. There is more files and folders in there. I will have a nosy through and see what's in there, see if there's anything more interesting I can show you guys. We do have to clean that board up. I have neutralised it with vinegar. We do need to get the mask back over the top of it. I think I want to take it all back, to be fair, and change the keyboard connector and change the joystick ports and the mouse ports as well, because they were a bit green and crusty. It'd be nice to have some new ones on there. So yeah, so I was chatting with the owner and he was absolutely amazed that this is running. He's absolutely over the moon, what can I say? But he did ask you guys, what do you think he should do with it? Do you think he should copy that hard disk and put an SD card solution in? Does he go down the route of a terrible fire? I have said, you know, if you're going down the route with a terrible fire and an SD card option, the hard drive card needs to be taken out. Probably the PC card if he's not going to use it. We could always put a 3D printed panel across the front, or we can modify it for a Gore-Tex or something like that, or we can just leave the 5.5 inch floppy there just for aesthetics, really. So yeah, he's interested in you guys, his comments, and what he should be doing with it. He's a little bit lost. It's 30 years ago since he played on these things. He did mess about a little bit with them back in the day, so he knew what he was doing back then. But we've all aged and we've all forgotten a lot. So yeah, so if you've enjoyed this week's episode, hit that subscribe, hit the thumbs up, hit the notification bell. You'll be notified for part 3. Next week I think we're going to be doing an Amiga 2000 that's been sent to me from Colorado Springs. We need to get that recapped and checked over for him and back to the owner back in America. We've got another one given to us as well from the Amiga Meet, another A1200 recap. I might do them together, but I will show majority of the Colorado Springs American unit being done. I've done A1200 recaps before, so you've seen how I'll go ahead and do that. But yeah, drop down into the description, all the information's there that I can possibly give you. I'll put the Diag ROM link in the description as well for you, and check out the other guys from the YouTube Retro Repairers group that we're in. They're all good guys. They do a lot of stuff, they do a lot of programming, a lot of computer building, repairs, etc. So if you enjoy this stuff, do check out their channels. And until next week, we'll see you next time. Bye.